Yo, what's going on, guys? So in this video, I wanted to make a tier list. Now I've seen quite a bit of people posting tier lists, and so I wanted to do something kind of different. So instead of just putting in the characters one by one and talking about them while placing them in, I wanted to place them and then kind of take a while to think about my picks and then kind of mix them up a little bit. Um, Beforehand, and then uh, now in the video, like kind of go over my decisions behind uh, like why I've placed certain characters in certain places. So, but first I want to go over this Venn diagram, this three circle Venn diagram that I've created, just to kind of help you or help like go over of like what I'm kind of looking for in one, the champion, and two, team comp. So the first thing is how well can this character or this team comp output resources. And resources is mostly the um, my definition of resources would be the amount of number output that you can do. So this could be healing, this could be damage, this could be shielding, just the overall number of resources. And that's this circle. So in the circle, healing, uh, item shop is another one because there is an economy in Paladins, and that does count for your resources. So if you're capping points more often, you're gonna have more resources. And for example, like um, the item shop, like Sky, is pretty strong in the beginning of the game, but then she massively falls off after everyone gets illuminate, and so that would be kind of how you're able to like gain resources, and then like cooldowns, shielding, yeah, everything that just has to do with like number outputs. Next would be pick potential. Uh, as you can see, like DPS isn't in here, because DPS doesn't really normally uh, get kills. What is more uh, confirmable is burst damage, so that's why I have that in here. Trading kills is another one, like how well can your team or the champion trade kills. Maybe that's if you have a lot of mobility, you're able to, if your tank dies from like a Vivian or whatever, and the Vivian had to get out of position to get that kill, then you're able to use mobility to trade that kill. And then 1v1 capabilities. Again, this is just pick potential. If you do run up in a 1v1, you do want to have a character that is really good at 1v1ing. And then crowd control, again, is just another way to. I mean, crowd control is pretty much just burst damage, but think about a root. If someone can't move into cover, then they're just going to be taking more damage. And then the last one is ultimates. And why I've had these three circles here is because I think you'll find that some of the times your team will lose because of one of these three. So, for example, if your team has like if two teams have equal like pick potential and ultimates, but one team has more resources, then they'll just for example, like Fernando is really good at shielding, and he can be pretty annoying because of the shielding, because he's just able to output so many shielding numbers. Um, they're just gonna win the resource game. And then the same thing with ultimates. Think about like if your team has a Cassie and uh, Corvus and Atlas and Talus. These ultimates aren't that great, and if you're versing another team with like Furia, um, uh, Drogoz, right? Zhin, it's going to be pretty difficult because they have the ult advantage. So like quick charging and high impact. Um, And then just to go over kind of the middle grounds, defensive alts allow you to get more resources, and then executes kind of play into the pick potential, right? Um, and then uh, if you have pick potential and you get picks, then you'll have like number advantage, um, mobility allows you to be take less damage and then also do more damage, and then DPS. Again, it's not 100% pick potential, but it is resources that you can just output. So yeah, with that being said, let's just go over the champions. So on my first tier, uncounterable, I think Andro is at the tip top. It's just very he just has pretty much the best matchups in the game. He doesn't he has good burst with his secondary or with his primary. He because his primary shoots a little bit slower. It's not like a fast firing like Talus or like Vivian or whatever. So he can do pretty good peak damage, peak shot damage. He has good DPS. He has one of the best mobilities in the game. Even if he gets crippled, he doesn't lose his dashes. Like, so let's say he uses one dash, gets crippled, he doesn't lose the rest of the dashes. He just waits until the cripple's over, and then he can still dash. His ultimate just is gives you CC immunity. It just increases your DPS by a lot, and it's AOE, so you can hit like two people and do 2,000 or like up to 8,000 damage with your ultimate. Um, a reversal, just really great. Um, I think Andrew doesn't have any bad matchups. And then we go to Zhin. Now, the thing with Zhin is that he has, as if I pull up this Venn diagram right here, um, uh, he would be in this executes area here, and because he can execute, then he has pick potential, and because he has pick potential, then he gets numbers advantage. Um, he also has really great 1v1 capabilities. He doesn't. The issue with Zin is that he doesn't have high DPS, but because his ultimate is just so good, um, it just impacts all of these three all of these three uh, circles, right? He has a good ult, it executes, pick potential, also 1v1 a good 1v1 capabilities, and that affects number advantage, which affects resources. Um, and yeah, I think because of those two things, Sin also has like pretty good mobility um, and survivability because Billow uh, uh, cleanses cauterize, and because of this of how Zen just affects all three of these resources, I just don't. I think Zen just completely changes the game if you're playing against him, and it's pretty much almost a must ban. I mean, as you know, if you've been playing Paladins recently, Zen is pretty much banned almost constantly, and this is the reason because he just completely changes the game. Even if your team has really bad ultimates, you could just run Zen and really just make up for both of these circles. Cassie, um, I put Cassie up here because the exaction build got buffed. And then she just has crazy mobility and burst damage. And it's mostly the mobility. It's really hard to lock down Cassie with exaction. Um, and she has a really bad ultimate, but like being able to just output so much like burst damage, 1v1 capabilities. Um, her ult's not bad. I would like her to be brought down, but get CC immunity back, but that's probably not going to happen. But yeah, it's mostly mobility for Cassie. She when she gets the snowball dodge rolling. I'm just kidding. The snowball rolling. She's like pretty hard to stop. Next tier, uh, hard to counter. I have Evie at the top right here. Also, something that I forgot to mention is that these are all in order. So Andrew is the best, Zhin is after Cassie, and then Evie's the highest in this tier, etc. So Evie, I think Evie, um, she she has like the best mobility in the game, and pretty good crowd control, which goes with her ultimate. Um, and just being able to constantly just put pressure on the enemy team's resources, um, is very strong, because what Evie likes to do is just blink in, shoot someone, and then blink out, and just constantly just like keep someone like low or whatever, like constantly take the resources from healing out of like people that are important and put it into like someone else, and really like try to bait out people's cooldowns. um, but for Evie, it's mostly the mobility. She just has like the best mobility in the game. Kinessa, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. She has really high burst damage, pretty good 1v1 capabilities, and her ultimate is ridiculous, and her DPS is really high, so that affects all three of these. Barik, Barik got a buff. I think he just outputs a lot of resources, and um, he doesn't have like great burst or like pick potential. He can do pretty good DPS. He actually is the highest DPS tank in the game. And that's why I think he's just like so good right now, is because this green circle is very strong for him. His ultimate is also very strong too. It's a defensive ult, so he's just able to stack like so many resources. You know, shielding, DPS. He has good mobility. He has a defensive ult. Um, Good cooldowns. He's able to heal himself. You know, he's able to really just stack this resource circle. Damba. Healers are kind of hard to place in this meta. And the reason because of that is normally healers are last picks, and you normally want to pick a healer that is good for the team comp. You know, for example, you know, Jenos is a good healer, but right now, there are comps where you just don't want to play Jenos. For example, like Inara. Inara is like normally like a pretty good pickup at the beginning of the pick and ban, and if you take Jenos in the beginning, they kind of get Inara for free. Um, you know, it's just stuff like that. Again, I think it's just kind of difficult because healers are normally like the last to be picked. But I think Damba is really good. He's just able to output a lot of healing. He has a lot of like pretty good like cooldowns. He has like a really good ultimate, which allows him to get like pick potential. Um, Yeah, I mean it's mostly just the amount of healing, like and consistent healing he can do with his like crowd control. Corvus, it's really mainly the resources. He just has very consistent healing. His ultimate's bad. He has like really good actual DPS. He doesn't have like really much burst damage with his pistol, but he has like really good DPS when it comes to like focusing down like a tank or whatever. So yeah, and his 1v1 capabilities are not too bad, and trading kills as well. Um, Again, mostly it's the consistent heals like through walls with his marks and stuff like that, and yeah. Next, Sha Lin. I think he's pretty high. And this is mostly because of his burst damage, 1v1 capabilities, crowd control, good ultimate, right? The issue with Sha Lin is his DPS, and that's what actually holds him back. I honestly like Sha Lin being in the meta, because he just doesn't output a lot of DPS. He does output a lot of peak shotting DPS, but just like straight up like in a vacuum, he has like pretty low DPS. Um, Makoa. I mean, what can I say? He has like really great shielding, one of the greatest crowd controls. One of the He doesn't have a quick charging ult, but he does have a high impact ult. You pretty much have to kill him twice. Again, pick really high pick potential with Makoa, and great shielding. Um, and also he affects the enemy's team resources, right? Where um if there's like a flank in the back line, or taking like your healer's cooldowns, you can hook them away, and even if you don't kill them, then you're really lowering the amount of enemy teams' resources that they have. Con, I mean, pretty self-explanatory. Great resources, great DPS. He doesn't really have much burst, but he has great crowd control and an execute with his ultimate. Um, he also can heal a little bit. Ash. I think Khan is a little bit above Ash just because he can hard counter, not hard counter, but he counters a lot of tanks in the meta right now. Ash, Fernando, Terminus, right? Um, Ash, I think is right here, because she has a good ultimate. Um, if she has a good 1v1 capability, and then she outputs pretty good resources, especially because of her defensive ult. She's able to get her defensive ult very quickly. Nando, I have Nando actually pretty high here. Um, uh, a lot of people would say he would be a little bit worse. I think he might be a little bit better than Inara here. I don't think he's as good as Makoa because Koa can hook and has a little bit more range poke damage. But let's just go over him. So for Fernando, he just outputs so much shielding resources. It's very strong. And then when combined with like one of the best defensive ults in the game, it could be quite irritating. The issue with Nando is that he has like really low DPS, and he has pretty bad pick potential. He doesn't really have any crowd control. He um he isn't really great like against other tanks, like not too good at trading kills. Doesn't have any burst damage, so yeah. And pretty average mobility. Narum, right after Fernando. Um, she has really strong cooldowns. Oops. If you're able to just like rotate cooldowns, you give your team a lot of resources. She has good DPS and burst damage and crowd control. Her ultimate is really good. So even though like Inara has all three of these and they're all pretty good, I just think like Nando, for example, him being able to just output resources and have this defensive ult just makes this green circle just like so much bigger than the rest of these two. Terminus, again, I mean, he's a tank. He has good resources. He's good at shielding. It's just his issue is mobility. He has really good 1v1 capability, and his ultimate's not that great. It is, I would consider a defensive ult because it's you're self reviving. Like if you messed up, you can just null void that mess up and just come back. So yeah, Maeve. Um, I think Maeve is pretty good. Um, we'll just go over her Venn diagram. She has pretty good range DPS. Um, pretty good 1v1 capability. Good trading. Really great mobility. Um, and because of these, she does give like quite a bit of resources, even though it's kind of on the damage side. Like these are this circle right here is or this section right here is like pretty high, and that's what makes like Maeve pretty good. She has pretty good burst damage. I think it's like a 1k burst damage. Um, and then another thing that a lot of people kind of overlook is Maeve's ult. A lot of people might think like Maeve's ult's like bad, but it is considered a defensive ult. And you want to be using it like a defensive ult. And now you might think that's kind of wild, but what you want to do is because it blinds the like range damage people can only see from like 5 meters away. You want to use that ult to stop range damage going to anyone on your team. Now, I mean, I guess you can use defensive ults to uh, go in, but her ult doesn't last that long. So I would really recommend using her ult like a defensive ult. Again, you just want to flip the resources when the enemy team is going hard on your team. You pop alt, and then now they can't follow up on any range damage, and then your team is able to like gain more resources back. So again, with these being pretty strong and Maeve's alt being pretty good, that's why I would say she's right here. Tiberius, he has really good DPS burst, pretty good 1v1 capability, and his ult is really quick charging with pretty like big high impact. His mobility is actually pretty good because of his ult as well. So um, um, yeah, he would be like number 4 um, on the DPS, to be honest. Bomb King right after. The issue with Bomb King is that he doesn't have a lot of range DPS, but he has a lot of burst damage. He has like really good DPS for shields to counter like shielding. Great crowd control, great 1v1 capability, and a pretty good ultimate. Ying, again, like I said, healers are kind of hard to place, but I think Ying is a little bit better than Seris here. Um, just because of her ultimate. Like it, because like her ultimate just gives so much resources. I just have to say that Ying's better. Um, with Ying, you're able to dip into the ultimate game, and I really think that like winning that game can is better than Seris. Even though Seris, we'll go over Seris now. She does output a lot of like brawl, quote unquote brawl healing. Um, her her ultimate it just isn't very impactful in the ultimate game. Um, and then Ying has pretty good DPS and mobility. Seris has really good mobility, pretty good mobility, I would say. Um, but yeah, I have to put Ying here now. Koga. A lot of people think Koga is like the worst champion in the game. Um, I I think for right now he's in the annoying, and that's because he's able to. One, he has really good DPS. He has one of the highest DPSs as a flank. He has one of the best mobilities as a flank. It's not like Evie, but I honestly would rather have Koga's mobility than Maeve's mobility. Um, I think Maeve is just a little bit higher because um, I don't know. Maeve's mobility is pretty wild, but um, it's mostly for the amount of resources Koga can give. Again, he has really high DPS. Um, and it's actually a lot higher than you would think because being able to cleanse caught on dash allows him to get healed up so he can get back into the fight quicker and therefore do damage quicker. Um, and just like constantly like taking burst damage from people. Like if Koga gets bursted down, that's actually a good thing. So then he can just dash, cleanse caught, get instantly healed back up, um, and then take the enemy's like burst cooldown, right? His ultimate's not bad. It's pretty quick charging. Um, it just allows you to punish cooldowns and take resources. Um, he has pretty good 1v1 capability, and like pretty great at trading kills. And just really great in the number advantage state. But he doesn't have great burst damage. Like not too great or whatever. And defensive ults kind of hurt pretty bad for him. But and another thing, he's up here right now because of the pick and bans. I think the pick and bans are just very strong. Or the ban meta, the meta bans right now is pretty strong for Koga. Because I mean, you could easily ban. Zhin is a must. Um, or not Corvus. Sha Lin is another one. Koga or Koa, and that's like three of his like big counters right there. And then the last one you could put like Andro, and having these four out of the game, which is very uh it's still these are meta bans right here. Um, sometimes you'll get a Barik instead of Koa. Um, sometimes you'll get like a Tiberius ban or like a BK ban. But yeah, with these like four bans right here, Koga is very strong. I think once the meta bans kind of stop, I don't think Sha Lin is gonna get banned as much. I like banning him because I like playing flank and it just sucks. But once the meta bans change or whatever, I think Koga will just go down to average, like kind of like somewhere around here. But for right now, the bans are very strong for him. Uh, Yago. Now on paper, I think Yago would be like the best tank in the game. And this is because she has like one of the highest pick potentials in the game. Because she could just like roll in, um, dive onto someone, make them weak, and then kind of just be able to get out. Just makes her like very strong. But in Paladins, there's not a lot of times where you're you have like a 5-man coordinated team, and you really need a lot of coordination to get this pick potential. Her ultimate is like also very good. It's an execute. So her pick potentials is just crazy with like high mobility. So these two circles right here just are ridiculous high. So one last time, again, I think on paper she is the best tank in the game, but in practice, um, it's just gonna be very difficult because people just don't coordinate with each other in Paladins. And that's why I think she's like right in the middle of average. Where yeah, Strix, um, I think he's right in the middle. He has like pretty good DPS, one of the highest bursts in the game. Um, uh, and that's about it. He has good DPS and good burst. But again, like with the item shop, when people get uh when the game goes on for a while, Strix just kind of loses out on the amount of resources he can output because of the item shop kind of counters that. Um, and he doesn't have that great of an ult. He doesn't have like any really crowd control. It's really just the pick potential here that makes him like really strong. And then Viktor, he's kind of uh the other side of the same coin as Strix. I think he has like the same kind of DPS, a little bit like less burst damage, better 1v1 capability, better mobility, and a better ultimate. But again, he's losing out on the burst damage. Lian, I think Leon's pretty bad right now because just her overall amount of DPS is low. She has one of like the best like burst damages in the game, and you know if a team has like a lot of pick potentials, it is pretty difficult, right? And that's why I think Leon is still pretty good. I just think she's average because she doesn't really give a lot to all of these. And she doesn't really make up for any of these circles that she's lacking in. Again, like she has really crazy burst, really good 1v1 capability, pretty good ultimate. Um, but she doesn't have any crowd control. Um, her, her ult's not that great. Um, she has really low DPS, really low mobility. Um, so yeah. Jenos right here in the middle. Um, I think he can give a lot of resources. But it's not like burst healing. It's just overall amount of like heal numbers. So it's not bad. And his so like the resources isn't that great, but he does increase the pick potential. Um, his ultimate's really bad. I think he has like pretty good like crowd control or whatever, pretty good DPS. Um, I just think that with Jenos, really it just comes down to you hitting your ultimates if you are gonna win a game. You need to get kills with your ult. And that's why I think he's just right in the middle. Um, Raum, I think Raum is in a good position. I think Raum is a good mix-up character. If because you can last pick him. Normally I said um, healers are last pick, but I think Raum is a good last pick because you can punish the enemy team if they don't have any crowd control, and you know he has really good mobility. He has a pretty good ultimate with like pretty good crowd control. He's pretty good at trading kills and 1v1 capability. He doesn't really have any burst damage. He's really good in the number advantage state. He's pretty good at outputting like resources. Um, but the only thing in this like Venn diagram is crowd control. If he gets like bursted down with crowd control, he just loses like the whole structure. So that's why I put him up here. He is a good like mix up. So like if they don't have crowd control, you can use this character for sure. Atlas. I think he has really good burst damage. Really great crowd control. Pretty good DPS and mobility. His big things are crowd control for sure. And he's able to output resources pretty well with his cooldowns. It's just his issue is his ultimate. Um, his ultimate allows you to banish 3 people and on paper it should be really good, right? Like you banish 3 people, and now there's only 2 people to like that can deal with you, and then you 5v2, and then once you win that, then the 3 people come back, and then you have the number advantage right there. But in practice, he moves really slow. Um, it's not like completely optimal where like you're right on top of the people when you banish, so you can capitalize on the banishes. They do last long, and it's not that bad of an ultimate, but um, I think I think just because his ultimate isn't amazing, and his burst went down just a little bit. He's right here for now. Io. Um, To be honest, I just think that Jenos can probably play in more comps than Io can, and that's why I kind of just put her here. Um, I think if you want to go for like a high healing number game, you want to go with like Corvus, Ying, Damba in some cases, right? Not Io. She is good at like burst healing, but she doesn't have a lot of resources because if they just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, she'll run out of healing eventually, right? Um, Imani, I'd say she's like low average. She has good DPS, she has good burst damage, pretty good 1v1 capability, pretty good crowd control. It's just her ultimate is pretty bad. I guess it would be kind of nice if people used her dragon like a tank. Because that's really mostly what it is. It's not really to get kills with. It's just a 6,000 shield, health shield. So um, yeah. So it's like a defensive alt, really. Um, she has okay mobility. She just doesn't do anything like amazing. Um, and like her ultimate is very vulnerable to get picks. So if you were to get picked out of your ultimate, you're in a really bad position. And then to be honest, and it's like a high risk to kind of use your ult. To be honest, I wouldn't blame like an Imani player to literally just like never use her ult during the game. To be honest, I see that happening. You just hold on to your ultimate the entire game. But anyways, so quirky, Torvald, he was like up here, probably right there, but I think he dropped down to quirky. He is high quirky, right below average. You can still use him, but again, this is really for like pocketing someone, like hard pocketing someone, and I think if you're gonna run like an off tank, you could just run like someone just that outputs more resources, and then Torvald. Um, what you're really doing with Torvald is increasing your pick potential, and I just don't think he increases this circle enough. His ultimate's not that good. Again, resources not that great. He really only has crowd control and 1v1 capability. He doesn't have 1v1 capability, but he increases the overall team's 1v1 capability. Um, Drogoz. I think he has a really good ultimate. It's an execute. He has good DPS, good burst, good 1v1 capability. He can have like somewhat like good crowd control, but he just has really bad mobility. Um, he's it's not too bad, but like I'd rather prefer a dodge or something like that and stay on the ground. Because like when you're in the air, you just have like when you're falling in the air, it's predictable. Furia, again, I don't know. I don't like talking about healers because it's difficult. A lot of people are gonna be upset that I put Furia here. Um, she has the best ultimate in the game, which increases your pick potential. She has somewhat good like crowd control. Um, She has pretty good DPS. Um, okay mobility. Um, is like you can use her mobility with her ultimate to get a little bit more mobility, but my big issue with Furia is this resource thing. She just doesn't output that much resources, even with her ultimate. Um, uh, her ultimate is the best ultimate in the game. I just don't think it gives enough resources. And she just doesn't, and plus her healing is just not enough. The game is like way too brawly. Um, I feel that the enemy team is just gonna out heal you. Or just pick or just win in the number advantage, get picks and win the number advantage. Because like I said again, these are all combined together. If you don't have enough healing, then you're gonna get picked, and when you get picked, you're gonna lose the more resources because number advantage, and then it just snowballs after that. Um, and if that happens, you can't really play the ultimate game. Grover, right behind Furia, because he does have a really good ultimate as well. He has a little bit more resources, but he just gets picked like too often. He does have the infinite vine glitch where it increases his mobility quite a bit, which I like. He has like okay damage. He doesn't really have that great a burst. He has pretty good crowd control. It's mostly his defensive ult and his healing here. I just don't think he outputs enough healing. Ruckus. This is another a good mix up. I think Ruckus is pretty strong against certain heroes. So especially in the meta right now. So for example, like Ruckus is a guy. Sorry, Ruckus pretty much hard counters Sha Lin. Ruckus can do like really good against like low mobility characters or whatever. His DPS is quite high. His burst damage is quite good. His 1v1 capability is quite good. He doesn't have any crowd control. His ultimate is really good. Pretty good cooldowns, pretty good mobility. Yeah, he's pretty good. Um, it's just that he just takes too much damage. Um, like he's not good in the brawl and the trading resources. Oops, he's just not good at trading resources. Willow, she has good cooldowns. She's really good at the brawl because she can counter healing. Um, I think the issue with Willow is like she has good DPS, good burst damage, but she just her what is it called? Flutter? I think Flutter is just like so incredibly bad. Like they nerfed Flutter, like they instead of nerfing Flutter, they should have buffed it. Like it feels so bad. Her mobility is really bad. I'm fine with her ultimate because it actually allows her, like it actually gives her mobility. I think her ultimate's like not bad at all. I would say it's a defensive ult because you could just um you just become like a helicopter and just fly up to the top of the map and um it just camp the skybox. Um, but yeah, I would just say her biggest problem is mobility. Um, Vora, uh, she has pretty good crowd control and she has an execute, which makes her good. But the issue with Vora is she has pretty low DPS and she's bad at trading resources. Um, she has pretty good 1v1 capability, but I mean, all flanks have good 1v1 capability. That's what makes them a flank. Um, her ultimate is not like great. Normally, I just see people using it to get out, so you're not even really using it. You're just you're actually just using it as a defensive ult. Um, the issue that I have with Vora is that same thing with like Strix and Viktor. I think Vora is a different side of the same coin as Koga. The thing with Koga though is you trade out crowd control. Koga has less crowd control with more resources. He's just able to trade resources so much better because he can cleanse caught. And even though like Koga can't like vine out upwards, like Bora can vine upwards, like Koga can climb up walls, so it's not like that crazy. So to be honest, I would say that like Koga might even have better mobility than Bora. Koga also has pretty good burst. Bora has a little bit better 1v1 capabilities and maybe a little bit of a better ultimate, but I think increased DPS, probably a little bit better mobility, and being able to trade resources just makes Koga the better pick here. Um, I mean, I don't know. A lot of people think her cripple is like really strong, and her burst damage is quite good, but and they like her execute, but I'd rather just go for more resources. Koga's ult is so good, right? So it's not like you're really trading much here. Buck. The issue with Buck is he has pretty low DPS, pretty bad mobility. He has an okay ult, but um, he has a little bit of crowd control, but not much. It's just Buck's burst damage is good. He has bad, and then he's just bad at trading resources as well. Like his range damage is bad too. So I mean, really, Buck only has burst damage and like 1v1 capabilities, and maybe his ultimate. Grok, he has one of the best ultimates in the game. He has pretty good DPS, pretty good crowd control. He is pretty good at like trading resources because he can put totems down. Uh, his only issue is that he has no burst damage really, and his mobility. Pip, he has a good ult, but his mobility is kind of eh. His damage is kind of bad. Burst damage not too bad, but he just does very bad in this 1v1 capabilities because his hitbox is really big. Um, yeah, the 1v1 capability is just very bad, and trading resources because of that. He just takes so much damage because his hitbox is like so high. Um, I mean his ult is really good, and I mean I've seen people get away with Pip. Like I think like it's not like this this tier list isn't linearly like I think like there are some situations where you can get away with these picks and stuff like that. Um, but you just have to have an eye for it. And it is like a little bit more difficult to do. Um, not mechanically. It's just like there's a lot of calculations that you kind of have to do. Moji, she has one of the highest DPS and bursts in the game. She has pretty good 1v1 capability. But her range damage is really bad. She doesn't really have any crowd control. Her ultimate is an execute, so it's not too bad. Um, she does really well in numbers advantage. Um, to be honest, I mean like I've seen Moji work pretty well. Um, I would just say mobility. And then almost throwing. So Sky, the issue with Sky is that she just loses her resources and 1v1 capability. Like so like she has 1v1 capability at the beginning of the game, but because of how resources work, she just loses the ability to like once everyone gets illuminate, she she's just a damage character. And that point, like she just has lower DPS than other like damage characters. And then her ult is like really bad. So I mean like she has, and then she has no mobility. And yeah, so I mean, you have a little bit of burst damage. You have like no resources. You have like, I mean, a little bit of 1v1 capability. Pretty low DPS, no mobility, bad ult. She's just bad. I mean, everyone knows that. Talus, um, he has pretty good burst damage. The issue is that he's bad at trading resources. Um, just because of how he wants to be played. Normally you want to place your teleporter down, you go in, and then you teleport back. And the issue with this is that you'll just be out of the fight so constantly, or like you're just not outputting. Like even though his DPS is good, but like in a vacuum, but in game, like you're constantly getting out of the fight, getting back in the fight, getting out of the fight. Like his 1v1 capability and pick potential is not bad. But again, I just his DPS isn't that high because you're just not in the fight. Um, and then his ultimate, it is pretty good at giving resources. It's pretty much like a self res. Um, but you really only ever want to use it um when you're at the end of at the end of a push, and you want to get to the fight faster. Any other way of using his ult is just a waste. Um, or like you know while the fight's going, and you know like the healer's like by himself, like you can teleport like kind of across the map to get to him or whatever. But yeah, I don't think his ultimate's that good. Yeah, so like a little bit of a 1v1 capability, not much of a crowd control. Okay burst. It's just his DPS is really bad. Therefore resources are pretty bad, and his ult's also pretty bad. Tyra, um I mean a lot of people like Tyra and like these characters or stuff like that. Um they have pretty good DPS. Um, but they just have like no mobility and no burst. Um, they have good like crowd control. Tyra's ult's like pretty good. They're okay at like trading resources, but I just find that like they just don't have enough pick potential. Um, especially because they don't have any mobility, and so like a lot of people can like they're really bad at trading kills, because they don't have any mobility. Um, if Tyra's low and there's like a Maeve on the other team, she could just like hard dive and easily trade that kill out. Vivian, kind of same issue. I feel like um Tyra's better than Vivian, to be honest. I mean, it doesn't really matter. They're both really bad. Um, but just because she has like better cooldowns, like Vivian, she has a better primary fire, but then she kind of gives up. Um, because she has a better primary fire, she gives up the cooldowns. So Vivian's in the same spot. She just has higher DPS but lower cooldowns. Um, I mean her shield's nice or whatever, but like you're really not like increasing like your amount of DPS because you have a shield. Like you're I mean yeah, okay, I guess you are like increasing your DPS a little bit because of the amount of shield, but shielding that you can do because you're limiting the 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 trading kills and the burst damage on you. Um, but her ultimate's like pretty bad. She doesn't win like the ultimate game. Lex, he has bad mobility. He has pretty good burst damage. He doesn't have that great of 1v1 capability. He doesn't have any like crowd control. Um, doesn't have that great of range range damage. Um, I think the biggest issue with him is his mobility. I think he could be played pretty well. Maybe put him here. Because his ultimate's not bad at all, to be honest. His ult's actually not bad. Because it's an execute. Last but not least, Dredge. Dredge has good DPS, good burst, okay mobility, I guess. Um, but he just doesn't have. I mean, he has like good 1v1 capabilities, I guess, but he just doesn't have that much pick potential. He's really just trying to put a lot of resources out. So I guess he doesn't have like that great of burst damage, but um, he's really just a character to like overwhelm the other team with resources. And then his ult's not too bad, but he just doesn't really have any pick potential, and that's his issue. But yeah, that's gonna be it. I hope you all enjoyed. Hit that like button and subscribe.